Hey everyone, and welcome to the October edition of the October 2025 edition of the Instructor Community Call. My name, as always, is Kyle Rosenthal. Hello and welcome. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for spending your morning, your evening, your midday, your middle of the night with us. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, you can hear me now. Can you hear us? Or can anyone hear? Maybe a thumbs up. Okay, great. No worries. I was saying to someone the other day this is a meme that seems to become very relevant in the last couple of weeks. Is that joining a conference call is very much like a séance now. Like it's the new séance. It's like, hello, can you hear me? Are you out there? And you hear voices, and then there's echoes from the past, and that's the thing that come through. So hopefully not like that. Now it's a little bit of a different call this month. We didn't have a call last month. I was actually traveling on the day that we were supposed to have it, so therefore that's the reason why we didn't have it. Next month we've got a bit of a special one because it is coming up around the Ignite time. So we're going to try and get some folk that might be more involved with Ignite, just to kind of give us a bit of a heads up and talk around that. If anyone is going to Ignite as either an MVP or an MCT volunteer, please come and say hello. We will be running the hands-on labs and the certification area. Some of you may even be involved with that. So we'll hopefully get to meet as many folk as possible. But as I said, today's going to be a bit of a different one, as we'll sort of discuss. One of the things that I want you to start thinking about now is if there's any questions that you've got. We did one of these sort of like ask me anything type things a few months ago, and it went really well because there were some good questions that came out of it. There's some talking items that I then got to be able to take back internally. So we're going to have a similar sort of one today. So it'll either be a short session or a full session, depending completely up to you. All right, so as I said, like today is a little bit different. We've got our normal sort of welcome, which is some of the things around NCT, like the Microsoft environment and some of the changes and that sort of thing that are in there, so things to be aware of. And then after that's going to be an open forum, basically a bit of a chat, right? For you to be able, a chance for you to ask questions and see if there's things that you've been holding on to that you want to be able to get answered, then we can do that. Then we move into, for those that have done this before, know that this is my favorite part, the instructor recognition, where we get to give a shout out to you, the instructors, and the achievements that you've had in the Skillable platform, and also, as I said, recognize the impact that you have into the students' lives that come through your classes. All right, and then a summary of our resources and that sort of thing. All right, so that's me when I'm wearing a suit and tie, and obviously with longer hair. So just one thing, like the main thing to make sure that you are aware of is something that we flagged last month, but is certainly in place now, right? Which is this bit here, the temporary access passwords that are in all relevant labs now. So you'll see that now that when you go to start up, and it's due to restriction on how the tenants are being handled and handed out and that sort of thing, in that that any of the labs that require, there'll be an extra field now, which is a temporary access password. That temporary access password is the password that the students would use to initially log on, and the reason that we're using that, or that's being used, is so that we don't necessarily have to go through the full MFA sort of program and that's the thing for all of your students, because that can get quite frustrating and annoying. So that's the way that we can work around it. So I'm glad to hear, Norm, that's working well. There was a lot of work on the back end to put those in place to make sure that they get out. We have used them at scale now, obviously in the classrooms. We've also used them at scale, like in a couple of stops of the AI tour as well. So yeah, so I'm glad that it's working well. We've done a couple of little sort of infrastructure changes on those as well, which has made it a little bit smoother. It may not have happened in any of the ones that you were doing, but you may have seen some of those might have expired because they were expiring pretty quick. We've done some work on that, so hopefully even that shouldn't happen. You shouldn't come across that at all now either. Just a reminder about the tenant expiry, and I know that for for a few folk this is still a cause for frustration, but there is there's literally nothing that can be done. So the tenants for 14 days. So the tenants for 7 days. The tenants for 7 day change, that's been there for since we've had restrictions on the tenants. You can, as we've discussed in the past, you can start up again with a new tenant. Yep. So Norman, you can start it afresh. Obviously, it's not ideal if you're running a multi-week class. But it does mean because nothing will retain, obviously, when you go through. But yes, you can certainly relaunch the lab and get a fresh tenant. So yeah, so the students still get that extended access. They still get the ability to be able to jump in later on if they need to. But yeah, it's just bear in mind. And like if you are having, you've got a student who's going to go in and do this again, just remind them of that fact that hey, it's 7 days from when you launch, so time maybe time your revision, so that you are able to have that focus and get everything done within that 7 day period. So yeah. No, it's one at a time, but once it's expired, you can redo. So the main thing is to make sure that you actually cancel out of the lab and make sure it's not still running. I believe that we've got most of them pared down, so they will actually automatically expire at 7 days because that makes sense. But if you find that there's one that's not, then just make sure that you expire it, by cancelling out of the lab, and then when you start again, you'll get a new tenant. So, and of course, if you do have any issues with any of those, like if you find that something's not working as expected, make sure that you do put a ticket in with as much information as possible. We do have a 24/7 help desk who'll be able to look at your session, see what's going on, and then report back to you. So these are the same newly published ones that we had from a couple of months ago. We haven't really had any new ones since then that have actually come out and released. I would expect, with no inside baseball information at all, but I would expect that there would be some new, possibly some new courses coming out with Ignite. Ignite is always a good time for for fresh announcements, and that's from learning as well. So so Jörg, when and that's the thing. Like it is a I understand the frustration. The 2 to 3 days before the course, obviously you can still do that, but it just cuts into your weekend, which is less than ideal. Unfortunately, there are some good reasons in behind the scenes as to why it's been put in, and mainly it's because of misuse by folk. So as usual, it's the minority that ruin it for the majority. So yeah, that's there's not really much that we can do about it, apart from all of us collectively learning to work around it. So yeah, again, understand it's definitely not ideal. So but it is what it is. All right, so now we've already had a couple of things that have been raised, but this is your time to ask any of the questions that you might have around the lab environments, around access, any questions you might have, that you might have. That's a great tip. So Norman, using a personal account, used to the Microsoft 365 tenant as an MCT and that's for SC200 to be able to do your demos and that sort of thing. I know that there is, from discussions that we've had in the past, and jump in and have a listen to some of the past ones that we've had with Sarah Kong from the MCT program. That there's changes afoot within there as well, because there is recognition that that we need some as MCTs, we need some access, some tenants that's going to be able to work around. So yes, so we've got some I believe there's some changes coming. Obviously, once everything gets released within there. So the MS700, MS721 to gaining phone numbers. So if there's issues with the labs, so this is a really good point. If there's an issue with the content of the lab, as an MCT, you probably are aware that all of the instructions, that sort of thing, are held on GitHub. And the best way to be able to get support for if there's an issue within the steps itself and that sort of thing is actually going through to the GitHub environment and do some, and you can actually put a ticket in within there. That then gets allocated out, gets revisited by the folk that actually control the content. As an example, I just dropped in the one for MS700, and again, Jürgen, I'm sure that you're across that, but just in case someone else isn't. So you can put in as an MCT, you can do one of two things, right? You can either put in like a request, like basically a ticket within there, and Microsoft are going pretty much all in with regards to like monitoring issues and using issues to be using things to be able to change around in GitHub. The other thing that you can do as an MCT as well is you can actually step in and make those changes, right? So the changes are like if there's content that you can update, you can also put that in as well. So Norman's just dropped in about the right. So like that's a different issue again. That was on some of the restrictions that was actually that was being for some of the content. And again, we're kind of at the whim of Microsoft to an extent, right? With regards to, and it's not even Microsoft Learn. Just to give you a bit of an inside baseball, Microsoft Learn is obviously a very small part of overall. Us as the trainers and the classes that are in that are in the train the Microsoft content, we're an even smaller subset of Microsoft Learn. So there are things that get applied at a corporate level, which are designed to protect the corporate level side of things that we then get impacted by in probably ways that weren't considered or weren't we're the outliers. So therefore, we get impacted in ways that aren't considered because it's for the greater good versus for what we have. And case in point of that was earlier in the year. I think it was earlier in the year this year. It's been a year, which was when Microsoft took all the tenants away for all the trials and that sort of thing away for a period of time. That was a corporate level decision, which had much higher impact on us as the instructors, right? So so it was like there are times that when things happen that we are that we're fairly heavily impacted by, unfortunately, but it is things are out of our control to an extent, of course. So, but yeah, okay. So thanks, Norman. So that's another one that is actively obviously being worked on and aware of for what's happening within the Microsoft world. All right. Any other questions? Any questions around around the lab environments, or anything like that? So one of the things I just wanted to remind you of is to make sure that you are aware of a couple of things, and like again, for those long-term folk, you will be aware of this, but maybe for some of the folk that are newer to the platform, that's the thing. It's always a good chance to give yourself a refresh or to be aware of these, because it's amazing, like sort of how many little sort of things that we deal with that folk that have forgotten about things or alternatively never knew them in the first place. So I'm just logging into my system just for a moment. So just bear with me a tick. I'm just going to bring that crossover to here. Right. So okay. I answered Norman's question. That's a really good question. So if there's an issue, should the instructors reach out or have the students do it? Honestly, it depends on the impact. And the reason what I say within that is that, say, for instance, if it is a single student who's having an issue and it's not going to be causing you, it's just causing that one, there's an issue with one student's session, that sort of thing, then I would get the student to reach out to them and reach out to support. And the reason being because the student is going to be able to react better with, this is what the problem is in my session. If it is an issue overall, so say for instance you are having all of the students in your class having a problem with whatever it might be, then that, as an instructor, I would reach out. And the reason for that is because you're the person in the room who can be able to best triage, everyone's being impacted by this, and in that case, it's also going to be you that's being impacted as well, to be able to then know when you as the instructor can move forward, right? To go, yep, okay, well, that's been solved, or alternatively, the help desk might let you know and say, look, it's not going to be solved for a while because we're working on blah, 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 right? That can, then that how to manage your class. As I said, if it's one student, I'd get the student to reach out. If it's multiple students, then that'll be you to be able to help guide. And I understand that as an instructor, the last thing that you want to do is step away to be able to put a support request in, that sort of thing. But as I said, if it's affecting your class, then you're the best person to manage how you're going to move forward with it in timing and that sort of thing. So therefore, it should be on you. What I would discourage you to do, and I say discourage because I've had folk that have done this before, is if you're in that circumstance where everyone in your class is having the same problem, please don't get everyone in your class to register a support ticket. It just basically means that the support folk are dealing with 30 tickets versus one ticket for the same problem. And it creates extra work because then they've got to, essentially they'll identify that it's the same problem, but it just slows the process down while they're trying to help of having to deal with with the extra information going back and forth. So so as I said, that's would be my advice. So if it's everyone, you as the instructor. If it's one person, just that student. All right, and also it's also a good thing to show the students as well how to actually do that troubleshooting too, because say for instance, if you've got someone who is doing something after after the sessions are done, then that's also going to be something for them to be able to go, oh, I've got an issue, hey, look, if you need some help with the lab environment, this is where you go to get it, right, to be able to do it. Yeah. So, all right. So the couple of things I wanted to show you. One was in here was the calendar, right? So in the calendar, this is where your instructor calendar will show, and you can then find your like what you've actually got for your like any classes that have been scheduled. In particular, if you are a if you are a contract instructor using the same contractor account across multiple folk, then this is a good place to be able to come and see what's actually being set up for what classes have been allocated to you in the future. You can also come into here to be able to do instructor competencies and your block out times as well as availability times. And again, if you're using the one instructor account across multiple customers, multiple of your customers, then that is also it's a good way to be able to say, hey, look, I'm not going to be available during this time, or these are all the ones I'm available to. If someone goes to schedule a class, one of the things that when they go to add you as an instructor, or if they're searching for instructors, there is a field by default which is on, which says, show me the instructors that I have access to that are available to teach this particular course. So the instructor competencies, going and filling those out and adding in the classes, and obviously I haven't done that. Then if I've done that in a while, then you can go and set these up. So then it means that you're going to show up in those searches. Yes, that's one thing. The other thing is that you also have an instructor dashboard as well, which is this one, and this is your at a glance. This is what's happening this week. This is what so when I'm actually able to get into multiple classes, etc., then you can go and have a look at your classes, any of the lab instances that you might have active, saved, and that sort of thing, as well as your subscriptions. Now, the subscriptions that are in there, that leads to an answer to Jörg's question. So I'll get to that in just a second. But with Norman, the help desk are aware, obviously because of who we deal with, that there is urgency around active classes. So the fact that there was a 5-hour delay, that there shouldn't have been. I'll say that you should have at least had like an initial response certainly before that. So that's certainly less than ideal. The help desk, as I said, are definitely aware that there is actually the live classes are occurring. So if you want to contact me on the side, we can have a look to see what happened in there. But yeah, definitely the help desk, said they work 24/7. They are definitely aware that we are a 24/7. Like we literally will have classes running around the world every day of the week, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So yeah, they're part of the things that we impart on the folk on the help desk is, and I certainly do, is as an instructor, how much that tap dance is not ideal, right? So 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 apologize for that, and less than ideal, and certainly shouldn't happen. So if you want to send me some details on the side, I'll see what I can find out what happened during that time. So all right, so Jörg, how do you find courses to prepare yourself? So you do it through here, through the subscription, right? So you go into your instructor dashboard, go to my subscriptions. Now, I don't think I've actually got mine set up in here, so we'll see. And I have, I've got my All Access Pass that's set up. But it's expired. But this is where you're going to go to be able to get your All Access Pass for the challenge labs. that's also where your MCT access is going to show as well. Now, if you don't have MCT access, so if you're like you can still get access to prep for a class if you have been assigned to it, and you do that through going through the class. But if you like as an MCT, you also have access to our full library to be able to prep against any of the classes any of the labs that we have. So if that's the case, if you don't have that, and if it's showing the 5 subscriptions, then what you need to do is make sure that you've registered as an MCT on our platform for that access, right? So okay, so yeah, so I suspect that means that you don't have any of the subscriptions then, because it's probably not lit up. So we do have some links that I'm going to show at the at the end of the session, which will be for your where to go to be able to get access to the MCT access. And in fact, let me see if I can drag that up now and put it up on the screen. Just bear with me a moment while I try and convince PowerPoint to show me what I want to show. For me, that's not it. Here we are. Okay, so chatting away to myself as I'm trying to get to the right screen. And okay, so let me just paste this in, and what I'm going to do is I'll then go to this page as well, so we can then see what it actually looks like, and I'll sort of talk you through it. All right, so I've just pasted that in, but this is the page that I've just pasted in. Right, is for our instructor office. So we have 2 main offers that you as MCTs are going to be interested in, and certainly if you're an AWS instructor, then you also have access to this as well. So as an MCT, the MCT All Access Pass, that gives you access to our challenge labs. So that's our 1,400 or so challenge labs, which are over and above what's contained within mock. You might see these challenge labs being added in, like they're on the tail end of as an extension for some of the Microsoft content, Microsoft official courseware. But with the other one is the mock lab access. So make sure that you go into there, redeem the offer, and fill out the form for the access for that. So do both of those. You want to go mock access as well as MCT All access, and then complete the form details within here. That'll then give you the subscription for both of those things. That'll then give you the access to So we'll, put that in, and you'll get an email back from us with the subscription ready to go onto your account. So right. So yeah. So and then that'll then give you access to all of the Microsoft official courseware content that we have, not just what you're scheduled for. If you are wanting to get access to something you're scheduled for, and the class has already been scheduled, then that's easy. That's where you go into my dashboard, go to whenever the class is actually scheduled on, and then you'll then see, obviously I don't have anything scheduled in there, but then you'll see the link for the class. You can then open up that class, and as the instructor assigned to the class, you can then launch that lab as much as you like. So so yeah, so okay, well that's good. 2 things, a couple of good discussion points. Okay, all right. Anything else? Any other questions? Like I said, some of those instructor things, they are things that you might have seen before, might know of, or alternatively maybe that's all brand new for you. The other thing is that in your classes, don't forget that in your class as an instructor, you have the ability to be able to do things like hide the labs and that sort of thing. So say, for instance, you don't want students going too far ahead, you don't want them doing something that you haven't got to. As the instructor, you can go in and you can actually hide those labs as well. So therefore, you expose them when you want to expose them. Kind of keep that focus, particularly if you have students who do want to race ahead, and I think we've all been in that circumstance where you have someone that races ahead, does a lab that's 3 topics on, and then goes, I don't understand what's happening. It's like, well, no, you're right, you don't, because we haven't got to there yet. So wait. All right. So little sort of a couple of sort of tips and that. So we did also do a session probably about 5 or 6 months ago now, which was just on tips and tricks. So kind of if you are new, that's a really good one to be able to maybe refresh yourself on as well, to go back and have a look to see some of the instructor sort of tips and that sort of thing as well. All right, so instructor recognition. This is where we get to do the fun stuff, right? The bits about where looking at you and making as the instructors, and what's what you've achieved. Now it's been a couple of months since we've had folk join us, right? So since we've had a session, so we do have a bit of a list. Let's move on. So first off, recent milestones. So folk that have got some recent milestones. So since the August call, we've issued out was it 1,228 badges to 846 instructors. You've certainly been busy, right? Now those, the 341 that have taught their first class. Now, I would assume that's the first class on our platform, right? So therefore, there's probably folk that have been presenting elsewhere, etc. But at least now they're getting to they're on our platform. So, but some of those are probably also going to be MCTs that are presenting for the first time, which, as we all know, not an undaunting task to be able to do, right? So all the way up to 250 classes, where we had five folk deliver 250 classes. One of those is Norm, who is with us. So Norm, congratulations on 250 classes delivered on the platform. Well done. Just looking through the list of our names to see if anyone else is in. John, unless I'm missing, as I'm scrolling names, I think I think everyone else, the folk that we've called out were folk that were that had signed up for either delivery. So congratulations to if either you're watching this in post, in the recording, or if I've missed your name. So, but Norm, that's huge. A huge achievement. And milestones on students reached. Now, for me, this is the big one, right? This is the one that those that have watched this before or listened before. This is the one that always gets me, right? Is how many students you reach. And obviously, if you're doing this on our platform, great, but you're also probably doing it other platforms as well. So think about the impact of how much you're touching your students or impacting on your students, right? So, whether it's your first student, whether it's your 2000th student, and we've got 15 instructors that have hit milestones beyond 3,000 students now. We've certainly got some that are even higher than that, right? But whether it's your first or whether it's your 2000th student, you have made, as an instructor, you've made a difference in someone's life. Whether it's that they came out of your class knowing something that they didn't know before, whether they were able to answer a question that one of their colleagues asked, whether they've been able to be really confident when they get to a job interview, whatever it might be, right? That's the difference that you have made in getting folk, in the training that you've done. But we don't really see it. We don't see that impact as much. People come in through our class, they leave our class, they move on, and then what we do is we then, very rarely see them again, right? You might see them come back for another class later on, but mostly people come in and they leave. So you don't see that impact, but I can assure you that that's what happens, right? That's what you've done. You have made a difference because of what you've done, and that's part of, it's what we do as instructors, right? It's what we want to. It's one of the reasons why we do what we do, is because we love talking to people, we love giving people information, but as I said, we don't necessarily see the next part of that, which is the difference that actually makes for them in getting them, in what happens after the class, right? And it could even be that you've, because of what you've taught them, they then didn't make a mistake, right? There was something that they did that if they didn't know before, they would have gone and done whatever error it might be. They didn't do because of your class. So, congratulations, and well done. And Norm, we will celebrate your 3,000th student when you get to that. So, I was scrolling up and down, and I've obviously missed some names. So Kristen is keeping me honest. So a call out to Sanibel, to Anshu, to Rohit, and to Kosik. Massive congratulations, and thank you for joining us. Really, appreciate you taking the time to come and join us, but also appreciate everything you do for your students. So. Yes, so well done. Rohit, 1,000 students. Anshu, 2,000 students. This is massive. And for Sanibel, 100 students, and Kusik, the over 250 students. Now, the other thing I should also point out with these achievements and badges, and that's something that we issue out, you get to add them, right? So make sure you do add them to your profiles and that sort of thing. As well as that, we always have, this always comes up, right? Because people go, well, particularly if you're a contract instructor, I teach at this, this place, and I teach at this place. And if the organizations that you work with don't use the contract instructor pool to be able to draw you out, but instead go and create their own account for you, then you might have accounts in different places. Those accounts in different places then, don't they don't all count up together. So if that's the case, reach out to us, and we will then join your counts together on the back end, so that we can then make sure that you've got the valid number that's in there. But yeah, huge, absolutely huge, and congratulations, and thank you very much for everything that you do. So, all right, and if you are looking at some of those numbers and going, oh my goodness, 3,000 students or 2,000 students or even 100 students, you'll be surprised at how fast that adds up, right? And again, understanding the impact that you have as instructors, it's amazing how fast those numbers do add up. All right, so just on our offers. So this is we mentioned this before, based off the question from Yo, is that the access to prep for classes. So make sure you do go to that skillable.com/offers. If if the organization you're with doesn't know that this exists, then make sure you let your fellow MCTs know, or your AWS instructors know, if you're an AWS shop, for the all access pass for the challenge labs. The challenge labs, as I said, sort of sit outside of our official Microsoft content, and they go in all sorts of different directions with what's in there. So I find it really handy to be able to go and, if there's a particular topic I need to brush up on, or if I've had a student ask me about something, and it's like, oh, actually, I don't know about that because it's not something that's in my wheelhouse. There's little topics that I can jump into and learn about that particular thing. So And then also the instructor recognition, so that's that badging that we just talked about. So that's make sure that you are, like, if you are working for different organizations, let us know, and we'll then be able to join up all of your content together. So, all right, and just a reiteration then of the overall resources that we have. So the instructor recognition, so that's where you can go and have a look at your badges. So skillable.com/instructor recognition, skillable.com/instructor dashboard. For those two, like for those instructor items. We also do have a Slack channel, so if you're not joined into Slack, you can also jump into there. If you do have any feedback or anything like on anything on the platform, things that you think, if this would be good if we could do X, right? Then feel free to jump onto feedback.skillable.com and have a look to see. There might already be some folk that have got the same ideas as you that you can then bump up their suggestions. Otherwise, if it's something new, also drop that in as well. If that's the case, then again, go back. It's a couple of probably about a year ago now, where we had some folk from the product team on who actually looked at how we deal with those feedback as well, and what we do with that. So all right. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. Hope you got something useful out of today's session. It's a little bit different from our normal one. We should be back to normal sort of broadcast as we get to next month or towards Ignite, for those that are going to Ignite. Just noticed that I think my camera might be not working, but that's okay. All my hand expressions that I've been doing, you haven't seen any of them. All right. But yes, so thank you very much for your attendance. As I said, if you're at Ignite, make sure you swing by and say hello. Otherwise, we'll see you next month. All right. Thanks very much, everyone.